He used to tap his fingers like playing the piano all the time, so he had very small career in the hands and the feet. His fine motor skills deteriorated. He would slur his speech, especially when he was tired, and very short fuse for anger. Couldn't put the brakes on anger outbursts and got very sort of abusive, couldn't control the language. Actually, I suppose I suspected he might have had a brain tumour due to those changes that most people see in someone with a tumour. Bernie was actually quite relieved. He just thought, oh, this is good, I know what's wrong with me, whereas he just thought he was going crazy. I think the hardest thing first was telling my kids because of the hereditary process, and I just looked at my grandchildren and thought, oh my God, you know, the possibility of them having it. Probably more so than my kids, because I knew my kids would deal with it, whether we wanted it to be the case or not. Take one day at a time. And I live by the motto, don't stress what I can't change. So each day is a new day and you just go to the appointments. I think one of the biggest thing and the biggest help was when we did go down to the Royal Melbourne Hospital. They actually experienced his anger outbursts and they gave him some medication which was a lifesaver. I think it's important that you do find the right doctors and the right allied services to assist you in that journey. I don't really separate the role of being a carer to being his partner. I try not to make it all about being a carer. Like, I've got good support from my family, good support from friends, and I always know they're there if I just need some time out. And sometimes it's just might be a matter of just time to me, not necessarily being with anyone else, just tuning out totally to what my life is, just to refocus. I like just going for a walk, just to have that space, listen to my music. So you need to keep focus on yourself as well as not on them all the time. And I often tell Bernie, it's not all about him. I said it's about me sometimes too.
Mum needs a break. I'm here for Dad. Just even getting Dad's meals ready. So we just take it one day at a time. If he's tired, we just let him have like a sleep, chill out on the couch, or just watch movies.
And I always had the attitude too that if the roles were reversed, I had no doubt that Bernie would be the one looking after me. And I think that's just part of the relationship that we've had. And we still treat him as a person, not as the disease, and I think that's important.
We like him to be part of everything we do. We don't like him just being stuck with whoever.
You've got to be really quite realistic because it is a progressive disease. Things are going to get worse, not better. And we see changes in Bernie every day now that, whereas he used to plateau for quite some time. But we've talked about it with him. Everyone's journey is different. So there's no hard and fast rules, and it's okay if they think they're not coping at one time, because tomorrow's a new day. Just take a deep breath and say, well, this hasn't worked, let's try something else.
Hi everyone, I'm Jo. I'm one of the counsellors who works here with the team at Huntington's Victoria, and I've worked with the community for quite some time now. And it's been a privilege to continue to work with you, and I've been asked today to have a chat with you about the changes that happen in relationships along the pathway of living with Huntington's disease. I guess the most important thing I'd want to share with you all, that this is not an easy thing to deal with. It's one of those things that's quite complex, and there are lots of different ways of adjusting and changing to it. So some of the people that I've worked with talk about feeling those changes as early on as understanding that their partner or their loved one comes from a Huntington's family and that might be an issue. Others talk about it as being something that impacts on them when they realise that there's a positive gene status. And for other people, it doesn't happen until much later along the pathway when there are symptoms that are quite confronting and need to be dealt with. So please don't think that this is like a job or a position where if you meet the key selection criteria, it's going to be something that you'll walk through quite easily. So sometimes you will be feeling very much like a carer and very responsible for your loved one and doing everything for them. And then all of a sudden, with no explanation or rhyme or reason, you'll have a day or a few days where the roles seem to completely shift and you feel like you again and you feel like their loved partner again. And some of those carer responsibilities seem to fade or change. That might happen for a short period of time or for a few days, but those changes can sometimes get us caught out and make us feel like that we miss even more the person that we were and give us a bit of a reminder of what things were. Underlying all of these changes, of course, is a lot of grief and adjustment, and grief for you as a person experiencing the changes. So even though your loved one is still very much part of your life and you're still very loved and very loving, it's a shift in the relationship and in the dynamic and in the role. And that shift in role means that we have to make changes about who we are and how we manage and behave on a day-to-day basis. That can also lead to changes in intimacy, changes in public and how we act and behave, changes in family contexts where we're not the person that we originally were or used to be. So again, it's about being aware of some of those things, but being kind to yourself and expecting that they are likely to happen and they're part and parcel of what happens in that adjustment. I think self-care is incredibly important, and realising that just because we are in the role of a carer, when we're in that role, I think it's really important to remember that we're still who we were. And so it's important for us to find times where we can self-care, connect with others in a role where we're not the carer and in fact where we might be the one getting a little bit of care for ourselves. Maintain other relationships that keep us in the role that we've always had, but also being able to talk to other people about some of the challenges and difficulty and some of the loneliness I think that carers find that they experience, whilst again it's that complication of having that loved one still there with you all of the time and sometimes in fact needing you more. So being more present but yet simultaneously feeling more lonely and just being acutely aware of that. So making sure that you seek some support for that. It's important to remember that there is no shame or problem in asking for help and talking to people. I think it's important to remember that there are physical impacts of being a carer as well as psychological impacts. So looking after yourself physically but also psychologically. So please make sure that you get that backup in whatever form that might be, whether that's through groups or individually, through family, through friends, through loved ones, or in sharing with other carers, or through professional avenues. The important part is that if you remember to take care of you, your chances of surviving this in a well rounded way, physically and psychologically, are much better. And if you're able to survive it for a longer period of time, then that works out better for everybody. People who don't engage in that sort of support and help are often the ones that will hit walls and really struggle to get back on top of things. So take care of you. Remember, respite for you and time out is really important, and seek that when you can. But also remember, we're here to help. Thanks.
The journey together.
It's certainly not easy. It's frustrating. It's anger. There's lots of tears, lots of everything. By no means an easy journey at all. But it's one that we do together, through all the good times and the bad times.
She's my support. Really important to me. I wish I could show her all the things that I appreciate from her, but I can't.
You should do. The unknown, I suppose, was really hard. And then thinking, shit, the whole world's just collapsed. What do I do? When you get told that each of your children has got the 50-50 chance, and you go, we've got 4 children. It took a long time, and even now it's hard. It's a bit challenging just to realise that the life that you sort of thought you had disappears, and you've got to make adjustments, and you deal with the cards that you've been given, and you go forward.
I can't actually ask for help. I always ask for something through Vic, so I expect Vic to have to know things from me, because I can't communicate what I need all the time, and so I expect Vic to know, and I probably ask too much.
Never ask too much. We've been very lucky in that we've had a strong support network before the diagnosis, and it's just been cemented after the diagnosis, and that's made life so much easier for us. Sometimes you have to work really hard and push some buttons to get the extra support you need as well, and don't be afraid to do that either, to go and push buttons and be very forceful when you need things, and sometimes you know more than what you really do know, and you go, actually I need this, and fight for what you think you need, particularly when it makes life easier for your loved one with Huntington's, which is what I've done a bit. And that, I think, is really, really important, is that you make sure that you've got that support that you need, not just for Tim or your person with Huntington's, but for me as well. So I annoy my doctor quite a bit, and I actually see a psychologist on a monthly basis, and that's really important, because you can actually voice your opinion in a safe environment, which is really good. And then what we also do as a family is that we've been lucky to have family sessions with a psychologist as well. So we get to understand where Tim is, where I'm at, where the kids are. So it's front and centre. It's not something that we run away from. I think that's the best thing that I've learned is just try not to put goalposts in front of you that you can't achieve. Be true to yourself more than anything else, and realise you're not in this alone. There's a whole lot of different journeys out there from everybody that's in this Huntington's world. We're all going on a different journey. No two journeys are the same, and that's one thing that I've learnt. And to learn that really early on helps, because you're not trying to compare. We just keep going. We just keep doing it together. So And even though Huntington's is there, he's not Huntington's. He's still my husband. He's the man I fell in love with. He's the man I married. He's my soulmate, and we still do everything, and we make all of the decisions together. It's a horrible journey, but I think for us, it's a journey that's brought us closer together, if that's at all possible.